Welcome back. As we promised, we are going to discuss the visit of U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham and his accompanying delegation to Egypt and the talks he held when he was received by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. The senator pointed out Egypt's efforts and mediation to contain the situation in Gaza and acknowledged the burdens Egypt endured to ensure the delivery of humanitarian aid into the sector. Well, to shed more light on the visit and its importance and its timing, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone His Excellency Ambassador Medhat Miligy, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you very much for being with us, sir, and a very good morning.
Good morning to you. Thank you for having me.
Sir, let's start immediately with what Senator Graham said. He lauded the Egyptian efforts and mediation to contain the situation in Gaza and acknowledged the burdens. This is exactly what he said. I'm quoting him. Burdens Egypt endured to ensure the delivery of humanitarian aid into the sector. How do you see these words uttered by the U.S. Senator?
Well, first of all, we have to understand that there are 2 points to see this visit, and I'm keen to explain both points. The first one, of course, is the recognition of the Egyptian efforts from the Senator Graham, who is actually one of the greatest supporters of Israel. I mean, one cannot forget that he has called on using nuclear bomb on Gaza, if we remember this, which was actually one of the worst statements made by a statesperson. However, this shows the level of commitment. I mean, when the president himself received the senator, it shows that Egypt is committed to spare Palestinian lives to the last bit, which is to even meet one of the greatest supporters of Israel to explain the real vision of the biggest country of the region and the one who has vowed itself to support the Palestinian people. I mean, it's very important to address this point because there was a lot of, if we can say, some criticism about the visit and its timing. But it's very important also to explain that it is very important. Egypt is ready to meet whoever it takes to spare the Palestinian lives.
Yeah.
And even by the president himself. I mean, he could have delegated someone to meet him, but the president insisted on meeting himself to give him firsthand our vision on the Egyptian efforts on one hand and the crisis that is taking place in Gaza that is reaching the level of a genocide.
Yeah.
This is one thing. The second thing is to explain that it's not in anybody's interest, especially not in the interest of the Israelis themselves, to continue with this situation that is taking place in Gaza. Israel is losing its support all over the world over this, and at the same time, still vowed itself to continue. And maybe someone like Senator Graham can be the missing link to explain to the Israelis coming from one of the dearest friends of theirs.
Something like a go-between, if I may call it this way. A link or a go-between, because when I was searching who is Lindsey Graham in the first place as an American senator, I found that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described him more than once as a close friend.
Actually, I mean, when we reach the level of assisting Israel to the point that we wouldn't mind using a nuclear bomb over Gaza, I mean, it's more than just the closest friend. Actually, he is. I mean, it's not outrageous to call him even more Zionist than many Zionists.
I'm saying so, sir. If you permit me.
And we remember that President Biden himself called himself a Zionist. So I mean, in the United States, that's not an insult to call someone. So
I just wanted to take it from here, sir, from what you said, because when President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi decided to meet Lindsey Graham himself and to speak with him about the Egyptian stance regarding the Palestinian cause, to renew our stance for full rejection of the liquidation of the Palestinian cause and the forced displacement of Palestinians, whether inside or outside their territories, we want to live side by side. And when it comes to the pressure on Netanyahu, even inside Tel Aviv with thousands of the demonstrators inside Tel Aviv and the pressure from the families of the hostages. This is going to be for the best interest of both sides. How do you see this as
exactly as you said, but actually what I want even to add to this, that we've been listening to many controversial points of view, whether coming from Israel or coming from the United States. I mean, does Israel really want to reach an statement from the Israeli Prime Minister that the war will continue? Will agree or not? There will be a dedication to continue this war until the last Palestinian living soul in Gaza. But coming from Lindsey Graham, who is, as described, a close friend of Israel, the Israel, would definitely have another way. That's why it was President's first efforts and the pivotal and fundamental role supporting the security in the region. We are not just talking about the Palestinians, although it's the main objective, but actually we are talking about the security and the stability of the whole region. And since we are, I think that we can describe ourselves as a strategic partner to the United States, we are entitled to explain and to clarify our point of view and our efforts in this regard. And we have to be listened, even from Senator Graham. And this is the most important thing that is the outcome of this visit, is that we explain to one of the major supporters of Israel, we explain the exact point of view of Egypt, so that there will be no mistakes about our plans on drawing the red line, whether we are talking about the liquidation of the Palestinian cause or we are talking about sparing the life of each and every Palestinian as much as we can. Unfortunately, the messages coming from the other side are not as bright as our position is. And we hope that maybe after this visit things are going to change, to ensure that everything will be explained to the Israelis, maybe from a new perspective that they didn't hear before.
Yeah, very well said, sir. This is exactly the question I had a day after the other during the 8 months of the international community, the international powers, even internal knew that, and I'm sure, as I said, that no solution is going to take place without the presence of Egypt, without even it endures a lot regarding many issues, whether on the diplomatic level or guarantee of the access of desperately needed humanitarian aid to Gaza. But here, sir, if you permit me, I'd like to return back to the pressures on Netanyahu, because maybe don't be the solution. What about the two ministers? If Netanyahu approved the Biden plan, at the time himself said or directed dark messages to those two ministers in specific to consider the plan and to effort to try to look at the whole issue reasonably and to use their minds to stop the bloodshed.
Actually, it's a little bit confusing. I mean, President himself mentioned that this plan is originally an Israeli plan. And then he is begging the Israelis to have the plan that actually they crafted, which gives us a certain of misunderstanding or confusion about the intentions of Israel. He proposes a plan, and then it says that even if Hamas accepted, we will not stop the war. So, I mean, what's the point of the President Biden initiative? And moreover, our situation was very clear from the beginning. We are ready to help based on legitimacy, based on international law, based on mutual understanding for both parties. We even pressured to a certain point Hamas to accept many of the conditions proposed by Israel. And Hamas, I think that the messages they were giving back are quite positive. But from the other side, we are totally confused about the Israeli position. I mean, are they for? I mean, you did not find so far one official who said that we are backing up this plan. On the contrary, actually, the first impression that were given right after Biden's speech regarding his initiative, or the Israeli initiative, as he called it himself, was that it's too weak and that this is a compensation to the terrorism. I mean, they mean about the Palestinian resistance movements and Hamas. And then they said that we are ready to explore the possibilities. And then they say, no, we are continuing the war. So actually we have to have a clear from Israel regarding the American initiative or their so-called their own initiative. Until Israel pronounces itself on what it really wants, everybody, including the Americans themselves, any positive feedback after the speech of President Biden. We don't know. I mean, are we on the right track or not yet? Israel is on board or not yet? This is something that has to be clarified. The idea of keeping us all confused while Israel is still perpetrating the genocide in Gaza and in Rafah specifically, this shows a level of irresponsibility towards all the people involved and all the nations involved in this initiative, whether Egypt and Qatar, who are trying, and especially Egypt when it comes to Hamas and Gaza Strip, we are more involved in this, and we are trying to convince Hamas to accept. And after we reach this, we are waiting from a positive Israeli answer, or at least, to be honest, any kind of answer here on whether Israel is on board or not. So far, I don't think that anyone.
Sir, when you're speaking about Israel, you're speaking about Israel or Benjamin Netanyahu, because I think when it comes to Israel, now the whole world knew the policies of Israel. But about Benjamin Netanyahu himself, he knew well that he does not have an excuse for what he's doing or a justification for what he's doing, but he is trying from the charge corruption, being exposed to that much criticized by his own community in Tel Aviv. These are things which I'm really confused also to talk about. Are we talking about Israel or are talking about Benjamin Netanyahu?
I think there's much since the private have to deal with Israel. Israel is talking on behalf of the Israeli government and its people. And if there is some internal problems in Israel regarding and it's not in our interest to talk about. What we want to do that were proposed by the Americans. We want to know what is the Israeli position regarding this. Are they or not? When I say they, I'm talking about the state. Who is represented by Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, until this moment of the state of Israel. So it hasn't spoken yet in a clear way. On the contrary, actually, it's still committing its war against the Palestinians because it has already a clear order from the International Court of Justice to stop any kind of operation in Rafah. Nevertheless, they are continuing business as usual, according to the Israeli IDF, which shows to a certain high and clear level a non-commitment to any international resolution and any international organization, and disrespect to the whole world, since this organization is talking on behalf of the world. And even that doesn't want to listen. I mean, at the beginning, we have clear mandate to Israel to stop its war crime. Now we have a mandate, a clear one, from the International Court of Justice, and that was the answer of Israel, the same day and the following day, which shows the non-commitment of Israel to the international law. And this is the serious thing, because
but sir, if you permit me to say so,
in the United States still supporting Israel, we are worried, because this shows that Israel will continue its impunity for as long as the United States is still covering for the Israeli policy.
Sir, I agree with every word you said, but simply this is not new. I mean, I'm going to repeat myself because I said that more than once during the past 8 months. Was Israel sanctioned or punished or even isolated from the whole world after Sabra and Shatila, after Deir Yassin, after Qana, after the Al-Khalil massacre? Was Israel punished for this? The answer is no. It would be punished now.
And we are witnessing a start and the beginning of a change in the world community opinion about Israel. We are seeing 4 countries so far, 4 new countries so far recognition. We are seeing over 140 countries in the General Assembly of the United Nations recognizing the right of Palestine to have its own state. We are having an upgrade in the states of Israel, of Palestine in the United Nations. There are things that are changing. Unfortunately, we are squeezed in time because we are losing life. That's why we in Egypt are more focused on the timing, because actually the more we wait, the more we are losing Palestinian life, which are very valuable to humanity. That's why we cannot wait until Israel decides itself whether it's going to be on board or not on board. Not to mention what you eloquently said about the Israeli Prime Minister position vis-a-vis whether we are talking internally with his own constituency or abroad with the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court. I mean, the situation is very bad for the Prime Minister, and he wants to continue with the war for two reasons. First, to save his own self from from the accusations, and second, because he is in this with the extreme right government who are unstoppable, and that's why he has to think about maybe another type of coalition with more moderate members who can assure the legitimacy and the majority to formulate a government with others than the extreme right wings in the Israeli
and the demonstrators, the families of the Israeli hostages, this is exactly what they have said, sir, yesterday and during the past few days in specific. They said that the Israeli government is not ready for peace, is not ready to agree or to adopt any of the proposals. And this is why they are still demonstrating, and there are all the time thousands in the streets of Tel Aviv asking them to stop the bloodshed because they are saying so. Time is running out. One final question, sir, since you mentioned the countries or the states which recognize an independent Palestinian state. Spain. As we speak, our top diplomat, Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, is really continuing his marathon diplomatic talks and diplomatic activities to once again tell the whole world that Egypt is putting the Palestinian cause on top of its diplomatic affairs or foreign affairs. How do you see the visit now? Because you mentioned the timing more than once. The visit of Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry to Spain and his expected meetings, whether with counterpart or with the Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez.
I think it's very important to coordinate our efforts with all peace-loving countries, and Spain has become one of those countries. Just yesterday, the Prime Minister of Spain has said a historic word when he said, we are on the right side of history. We are the real thing, and it cannot be a reality that the International Criminal Court is wrong, the International Court of Justice is wrong, 143 countries recognizing Palestine can be wrong, and only Israel and its closest allies are right. This is impossible. Historically and logically, it is impossible. So I think our role to coordinate with major European countries such as Spain and Ireland and Slovenia that just came on board.
And many Latin American countries too.
And many more will follow. I think that the situation, and as we said it before on this show and even from the beginning, that the map is going to be different after what happens now.
Yes, the world is not going to be the same world after the 7th of October.
The Palestinian rights are going to change, and the pressure from the opinion in Europe and even in the United States are going to change the stiff positions that we always carried for so many decades. Things are going to change. Unfortunately, we want to help to change this or to make possible before we lose more lives. Whether we are talking about the lives of Palestinians or even the life of the hostages who have been killed by their own IDF in order to prosecute Hamas.
It was an added value to our programs. I really enjoyed your rich input. Thank you very much, sir, and have a very good morning. A short break. We are going to return back with more, so stay tuned.